This meeting is recorded now. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday Wisdom Session, episode 8, on topic branding it the right way. I would like to start the session with our district mission, which is we build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Request you all to keep your Zoom on mute for better experience. Kindly park your questions for the end of the session so it becomes easier for the trainer to complete it. We have a very special trainer today. She is a marketing project coordinator at Toastmasters International. Her responsibility includes managing the completion of projects the creative team works on and collaborating on the large projects cross-departmentally. She has been a Toastmaster for 5 years, member of Toasting with Altitude Club at World Headquarters. Any guesses, friends? Who is the trainer of a day? Okay, our trainer of the day is from TI International, Jessica Mobeck. Thank you, Jessica, for coming here and gracing us with your presence. And I believe we all will learn a lot from you today. We are excited to learn for the Toastmaster session, which you are going to take us through. Over to you, Jessica.
You. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with everybody this evening. For most of you, I'm seeing quite a bit of different representation across districts here tonight. So that's really wonderful to see. I am going to, some of you may be somewhat familiar with my presentation if you've ever attended a PRM training or one of the branding trainings that I've held in other districts. It's pretty similar to that, but I'm going to open with that presentation and am welcoming of any questions upon the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share this screen and then I'm going to have to pop out to put it into the presentation mode. So are we now in presentation mode where all you can see is let's talk about training? Fantastic. All right, move a couple things around on my screen. All right, so yes, as mentioned, I'm Jessica Mobeck, and as one of my many, many responsibilities, I serve as our organization's brand specialist. So I'm delighted to share with you some helpful information about the Toastmasters brand and how it can be leveraged in your own materials. Can you hear okay? Just making sure I heard someone. Okay, wonderful. Let's talk about why our brand is important. And the Toastmasters brand is how we interact with, sorry about that, with the rest of the world. It's what makes us recognizable to our members, our prospective members, and with those who may never have heard of us before. It's represented in the various ways that we present ourselves and in every material that you create to promote the organization. A brand tells the story of what to expect of a company, a product, or an organization. A strong, easily recognized brand often prompts a person to decide whether they will buy a product or support an organization, or in our case, join a club or make the decision to become a club or a district leader. Toastmasters is made up of nearly 15,000 clubs in 144 countries, with almost a century of history and legacy. Our members may speak different languages and represent different cultures, but our brand unites us all and it makes us strong. This allows people from all around to recognize us, whether they are visiting a club, attending a district meeting or our convention, or whether they're reading about us in a publication or learning about us through social media. And this is why it is so important to be cohesive in how we present ourselves. If each club and each district created their own logo or used different colors and different elements, we would be more like 15,000 little organizations instead of one powerful one. Of course, our logo, our fonts, our colors are all vital parts of our brand, but it's much more than that. When you greet guests in a club meeting, mentor a member in pathways, or discuss business in district conferences, these things all become part of our brand. And this leads me to answer one of the most common questions I get. If I don't use the logo, I don't have to follow the other brand guidelines, right? Well, the answer to this is no, because it is not simply the logo that makes our brand. Every event invitation, social media post, club t-shirt, or contest trophy are still representations of Toastmasters, whether they include the logo or not. And for that reason, we still must use brand compliant colors, fonts, pictures, and tone, regardless of the presence of the logo. Now, I'm going to put you into my shoes for a moment. Every single day, I receive several emails asking me to approve materials like this one, which our very own club at Toastmasters World Headquarters tried to post a few years ago. Now take a look at this and tell me, do you have any idea what you're being invited to when you see this flyer? Is there anything that says to you, oh, this is a Toastmasters club? And probably not, because there are a lot of problems with this flyer. The colors and the fonts don't give the visual cue that this is a Toastmasters event. The Halloween movie villains don't convey that you're visiting a Toastmasters club, and worse, this flyer is using images that are protected by other copyrights. So let's fast forward to the following year's open house. Now the club has adopted a fresh new name, but better yet, they have a better understanding of branding. We used a template from our resource library, which made it easy to identify that our open house had a Halloween theme. And it used a screenshot from the previous year's meeting with us all in costume to drive the theme while keeping the consistent elements that give the flyer the look and the feel that tell you, I'm visiting a Toastmasters club. Photos that showcase members and club events or meetings are a powerful way to convey what is unique about a club or a district, or to promote a theme. They have the extra benefit of showing guests or prospective members the real people that they'll interact with and give them a taste for the unique personality of a club. Just remember that anytime you use photos or video, you have to have permission to use it. And this means that you have to get permission from the members shown in it before you post it. Or if you're using stock images, that you've either paid for the use of that image or confirmed that the image is free use. When you create your own materials, always refer to the Toastmasters brand manual Here, you'll learn about the elements you can use and how you can use them. It is your number one resource for creating custom materials. For digital or print materials such as event flyers, websites, videos, or print media, please submit those designs to brand@toastmasters.org. We'll review your materials to ensure that they represent the brand. And if they don't, we'll give helpful feedback for how you can update them and make them compliant. For products including apparel, accessories, certificates, or trophies, you must obtain proper approval through a trademark use request before you purchase or produce them. You'll find a link to the trademark use request in the brand manual and also on the brand portal on our website. Let me explain the importance of this. Trademark issues are exceptionally important. Trademarks exist to protect the names or the logos that are used on products and on services. The Toastmasters name and logo are registered to operate in certain environments. And this is the same for every brand that's ever been trademarked, but it's especially delicate for nonprofit organizations. Any material that could merely suggest a partnership that could potentially be profitable threatens our nonprofit status. In cases like a walkathon or a fundraiser, we can't really control how our logo will be used. We might end up with Toastmasters in the middle of a page asking for donations for somebody else, or on a piece of clothing among controversial, political, or polarizing organizations. There are specific ways to join events like these, so please reach out whenever you're facing a scenario like this, and we can guide you through it. Now, if you're ever confused about whether to submit for an approval through brand or through trademarks, feel free to contact either inbox. We work closely together and we'll get your request to the right place. Pardon the noise in the background. I have some work going on here. I was hoping wouldn't interrupt us today. Now, clubs and districts regularly ask if they can create their own logo or tagline. And I know creating logos is fun and it feels like a good way to showcase, but it's not permitted. Going back to what I said earlier, if each of us did something different, then we would dilute the power of the Toastmasters brand and create confusion. There is a single exception to that, and that is the district conferences. Districts may create a logo and a tagline for this event, so please check the district conference page in the brand manual to understand how you can do this properly. And finally, we'll talk about why sometimes Toastmasters seems to bend the rules a little bit when districts and clubs cannot. To put it simply, World Headquarters does have more flexibility in what we design. Like district conferences, we create a new theme for the international convention each year. Some ads may have a different look, and the Toastmaster magazine regularly deviates from brand guidelines. Some products and events require a different look for us to create the interest or engagement, or to separate them from our other products. And sometimes we test out different design elements to see if it's something that we could roll out on a wider scale. An example of this would be the color gradients that are found in the brand manual. Those were not available for member use until after we tested to make sure that our members could easily replicate that style. Going back to district conferences and themes, like I said, districts are permitted to create their own theme and design for the purpose of the district annual conference only. And when you create that design, you should submit it to Branded Toastmasters so that we can review make sure that it's not violating any copyrights and that there's nothing that would cause a problem with us being able to leverage our brand and the recognition of it when you're promoting your event. The majority of these do get approved on that first look through, but occasionally there are things that we need to come back and work with our districts on before it can be promoted as an event. So feel free during this time to use their creativity and work together with us so that we can make sure that we are providing a good experience to all of our districts. Next, meeting themes. We've done a couple of things to help make it a little bit easier to promote a meeting theme. Where we didn't used to, we do now allow our clubs and our districts to use flags within their media that are promoting club or district meetings. But as I said earlier in the presentation, the most powerful way to get your message across is by showing pictures of your members that actually create the excitement of being in a club meeting. So whenever possible, lean towards photographs. Now, it's not entirely impossible to have a creative theme, and some of these are from District 98, by the way, so that's kind of exciting that I got to share some from the district I'm visiting today. This was a wonderful example of being able to leverage the brand in a way that is still very creative. The theme of this meeting was the psychology of money, and they came up with this wonderful flyer to actually showcase what that theme is. But what they did is they stuck with those brand elements. You'll see that there's the shades of our colors that are actually the transparency shades. So that is permitted to kind of create a little bit of variety in the color visual that you use. We also had just different ways of combining elements and patterns to make that theme look like a piece of currency. And this is going to give us a little zoom in here. Finally, I know this is a lot of information and it really just scratches the surface of questions that you may have about creating your own materials. So here are some helpful resources to help you on your way. We talked about the brand manual, and I always encourage you to get very acquainted with it. Visiting the brand portal and our resource library on the website. You'll find the manual here, as well as other visual elements that you can download, some marketing resources, and some other templates. This is also where you can find and submit the trademark use request for products that you wish to create. It is important to familiarize yourself with Policy and Protocol 4.0 on intellectual property. This policy states the expectations regarding the use of Toastmasters property. And of course, if you have any questions regarding the application of the brand or how to handle different brand issues along the way, please don't hesitate to send an email to brand@toastmasters.org. I am always happy to help. That's the end of the presentation, but I would be happy to open to any questions that you may have. Let me see if I can unshare the screen here.
Thank you, Jessica, for taking us through the presentation. Request to raise your hand or ask question directly if anyone has any.
Let me get my gallery view here.
Okay. In case no one has raised it, I will go first. So I'm the Vice President Public Relations of Chatrati Toastmasters Club. So the very basic question which I want to ask with regards to the music which we use, wanted to know, is it fine to be creative? Like there are various music or songs, Bollywood songs, Hollywood songs, which are related to the theme. Will it be fine if any song which matches with the theme, can we use it?
So a little tricky here. If it is in a material that you're using to promote that event, to promote the club meeting, and it's in, for instance, a social media post, in those situations, you have to use music that is free of any trademark or copyright. So what would happen is most popular music is already copyrighted and you wouldn't be able to use that. You would have to use what's open source music, and typically is pretty generic, instrumental, a lot of times computerized digital type music. However, if you are in your club meeting and as part of your club meeting you're playing music during that, we aren't regulating what you're doing in that meeting. So things like right now, if we're in a Zoom environment, we're not looking at what your background looks like. We want you to be able to leverage the creativity and backgrounds, and we do that in our own club as well. So say that the theme is vacations, and everybody had their own like beautiful vacation background that they were using behind them. That's absolutely okay. We're never going to come into your meeting that way and say, oh, you played this song during your meeting, or you had this background during your meeting. But what it is important that you're looking for copyright concerns on is in any promotion that you're making for that meeting. I hope that helps to answer the question.
It does. I know with regards to the branding and imaging perspective, it is very important to uh, have a content or use a music which is aligned. But normally, what we see also, it's very freely used by members or people on their Instagram reels. So I just had a question: can we use it across? Since the opportunity of questioning the usage of it might be relatively less, but again, there is an element of risk which we can't question.
Sure. And I know on platforms like TikTok, for instance, and on Instagram as well, they have a compository of, a lot of times there are songs that are popular songs that they've given the permissions to in TikTok videos. The problem that we run across as a nonprofit organization is we don't have a way to really know which of those songs have gone through that process in these social media platforms and have actually been, cleared by the artist for that type of distribution. So because we can't do that, what we have to do is look at the whole organization and protecting that. And that's the reason that we just blanket it and say, don't use the music unless it's an open source music.
Thank you, Jessica. That helps. The second person who has raised the hand is Nisha Alwani. I would request Nisha to ask her question. Post that, it will be Meghna. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening and good morning. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Jessica? I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. First, thank you so much for the insightful session and the presentation you have led us through. My question to you is, we as young creators and young PRs, we can use Canva, and we have the ability to customize our templates as well, considering the brand colors which we have there in the brand manual. So I was wondering, if we want to customize and if we want to have a free hand over the creativity, can we use elements and can we use few things, emoticons, animations in our templates, just keeping the focus on the colors and not going into the proprietary things? Can we do that?
There's no problem with using an animation where you're using just colors. What we steer away from are animations where it is using more of an illustration. So like cartoon type images would not be permitted. But if you had, trying to think of a good example, a lot of times we're being a little more lenient on holidays. So if you were promoting like a festival where you were using lights in like blinking lights kind of in Toastmasters colors, something like that would be okay to do. And we like to promote that type of creativity where we can.
Absolutely. So may I please ask another question if you will permit me?
Yes, sorry about that noise.
That was not audible, don't worry about it. So
Oh, I can
again,
hear you.
okay. Considering the same, on Canva, we have presentations, we have videos, we have everything available. So again, if we are combining such things, except the cartoons and everything, will that be a compliance or will that raise any bars? For example, if we are using maybe a video or a speech content, and then we are using few elements, for example, quotations or maybe something to highlight our template, will that be a compliance?
As long as you're still using branded colors and you're not using illustration, a lot of times illustration, even though Canva has vetted theirs and actually has copyright, so you don't have to worry about
Absolutely.
stepping out of our copyrights when you're in Canva, unless
Yes.
you're uploading material that is copyrighted, and that's where it gets a little tricky. Their materials that they have available in the platform are okay to use, but what we want to do is make sure that what you're choosing is those elements are brand compliant.
Awesome. That answers all my questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nishna. I will request Meghna to raise a question, ask a question, sorry.
Thanks, Toastmaster Man. Well, hi, Jessica. Hope I'm audible and visible. Hi.
Yes, I can hear you.
It was a really wonderful session, Jessica. I just had one question that is related to shape. So basically, in our flyers and posters, we basically use geometrical shapes like square, triangle, circle. So is there any guidelines that we can only use geometrical shapes or certain shapes are not allowed, maybe a star or something? So I just had a question regarding shapes.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Shapes are a good example, and the reason that I chose the currency example to show was because there was a lot of usage of shapes in that brand flyer, or meeting flyer rather. Shapes are okay to use, even shapes like stars. I'm not too worried about when I'm looking at that from a can we approve this standpoint. What happens is, what we can't do is take different shapes and then create those to make a picture. So what I've seen in some examples would be like ovals and circles and triangles and things that were used to create like a sun and flowers and this landscape type thing. We sometimes see examples like that, and we can't use the shapes in that manner to kind of get around how we're promoting the brand. But if they're just shapes that are used in branded colors as a background element, or as, you know, stars here and there to kind of highlight, hey, we've got this special speaker or so-and-so won an award, that is typically okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
So, but we can use any standing line to create a shape, right? If I have to show a man, or if I have to design someone, like, so in that case, to design a person or to create for example, a cricket bat. So it becomes easier to use shapes for that. So do you feel it is allowed And also, can we use elements like for that? For example, an element for cricket bat or a cricket ball. Will that be fine? Because it will be easier to have it when we are using Canva. It is readily available, and it will reduce the effort we put in to create those shapes.
That one's a little trickier because usually when I'm looking at like the cricket bat or the ball or that sort of thing, it falls more into clip art, which right now we have lumped in with the illustration. So in those situations, I really do encourage you to lean toward a photo instead and showcase that, you know, there's a cricket theme to the meeting using a photograph, especially if, say, you had an event with your club at some point where you guys actually played cricket as a part of it and you can incorporate members into it, then you get extra power out of that. It's always not possible, but it is a great way to pack an extra punch in how you're engaging people as members and as people who may become members someday.
Agree. So element or clip art is something which you will not advise or suggest to use if required, right?
Right. Yeah. Almost always I will just push you towards photos if I see something that's like, all right, here's a cricket bat over here. Here's just a ball over here. If it's a photo, then I'll look at that. And the trickiest part of my job when I am looking at requests for things that people can use for their promotions is that it's not entirely objective. I have to think about different situations that things are being used in. I have to think about what the type of event is and how everything overall is leveraging the brand. Are we pulling away when we're using certain elements and it makes it hard to recognize what the event is for? So as much as we try to keep it very objective, there are certain things where I'm like weighing out how our brand is being used in that.
Noted. Thank you, Jessica.
Jessica, I have a quick question. So over the past few years, there has been a lot of trends going around, using memes. So would you advise usage of memes in a poster or something, just to attract the audience, to invite guests to the meeting, or to maybe to join Toastmasters? Would you advise that, or is strictly prohibited?
For adding links, is that what you mean?
No, just as a means of just sharing memes in posters so as to attract audience.
Oh, okay. This is a fun one because we've had a lot of different things come through, and this has caused quite a bit of discussion on our end about whether it's okay to use memes. What we look at is a lot of times memes are created from photos that have other copyrights in them. So what's a good popular one I can think of? Like, one does not simply walk into Mordor. You see this this Tolkien theme that comes across in memes all the time. But because we're a nonprofit organization, we run a higher risk when we're using that, even though you see it all over the internet. And that's the reason that we say no to those type of things. Now, if you were creating a meme, say, where it's you and a different person, you're like, oh, join this Toastmasters meeting. I can't think of something super clever right now. But if you were focusing more on you or your members and creating a meme in that manner, then we would be more likely to say, okay, this is fine to use to engage people.
So thank you, Jessica. That helps a lot.
Okay.
Who is going next to break the silence with an interesting question?
Did I actually answer all the questions?
Yeah.
I can ask a question if you're okay with that.
Yes, sure.
Yes, please.
Good morning. I'm wondering if Toastmasters International has a recommended process to control the use of the brand amongst clubs, areas, districts, divisions. I see many postings that don't even come close to being brand compliant. Yet they're still there and no one seems to be saying or doing anything about that. So does Toastmasters International have some recommendations that they would like us to use for that?
Bev, that's a really good question, because what happens is with so many, and I know in our members group, you see it all the time, across different club websites, you see it all the time. It's impossible for us to go in. I guess I should preface this that when we say brand team in our emails, the brand team is a mighty team of one, and that is me. And then our trademarks team is another one of our employees. And a lot of times we end up consulting each other, but we don't have a group of people that's going in and looking at things all of the time. So it's impossible for us to really chase down every single post that we see that isn't brand compliant. What we look for is we look to you guys to tell us when there's something that's in gross violation of our brand. And when that happens, then on a case-by-case basis, we'll reach out to different clubs, to different districts, and we don't want to come in with an iron fist and say, hey, you're doing everything wrong. That's not the approach we want at all. What we want to say is, hey, we've noticed that you're using an element that it's from a movie, and you can't use that, and here's the reason why. We want to explain it the way I did in our presentation, and then help our members with how they can better leverage the brand in a way that doesn't compromise our organization and helps us all to be more recognizable at the same time. So that's really the best approach that we have right now. And what we're constantly doing is I'm looking at the tools that you guys have for leveraging the brand and how can we help to make things a little more lenient that gives you as our district, as our volunteer leaders, more room for that creativity, but also keeps us in a place where we are not branching out so far that we're not recognizable together as Toastmasters clubs. Does that help, Bev?
It doesn't. My club is home to a region advisor, so we are very careful that we do everything within the bounds of being correct. What I do appreciate is the templates that you provide, the Canva templates, for example. I don't always have time to make something from start. It's really nice to be able to customize those. So if I could have a request, just more and more of those, so people would not have to post something because they don't have time or skills to put something that is brand compliant together. So more templates would be great from my point of view. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I will pass that along to our graphic team. I'm always passing that along to our graphic team, because the more that we can give you guys, the better. It does come down sometimes to building that bandwidth in with all of the projects that are consistently happening, but we do try to pump out new content when we're able to.
Thank you, Babe, for the wonderful suggestion. I think it will help us when we have more templates and make our life easier.
Wonderful. I will keep telling everyone, hey, our members want more templates. Let's do more.
Great. Yes, Toastmasters.
Hello, Jessica.
Hello.
Yeah, I have one question. I've seen a lot of posters over the years, and I've seen these two things always coming up in the posters. I'll just add it to my virtual background. Can you share your opinion? Like, what exactly is it? Should we use such things, or what is okay and what is not? I'll just remove myself from the camera. So I've seen these two kinds of flip arts being used. One wherein all the words are being arranged and it is used in posters. And another is directly a illustration which we use based on all the branding colors. So which one of these we can use? Which one of this we should not use? Or both of them we can't use? That is my question.
So the word cloud on the left side, that's okay to use, especially in the way that this has been used. The colors that are being incorporated in that word cloud are all brand compliant colors. So that would be a great example of a way to get creative with how somebody is posting or promoting something. The second picture, the thumbs up, this one is a little more of a clip art, but within Canva, within PowerPoint, within a couple of different places, a lot of times you'll find straight iconography, and a lot of times those little icons, I don't know if there's a thumbs up one on the top of my head, but there are different little icons that can be used that I just overlook. So let's say a really easy example would be like the calendar icon that I see a lot of times. I'm not telling anybody that using a calendar to signify, hey, this is when our meeting is a bad thing. And so when it's used as an icon, a lot of times I will overlook it. But if it's large, if it's an illustrated type look to it, then more often that falls into what we're looking at as a clip art.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. And from my end, I started using more of icons when it has been addressed from the brand compliant that is the best shape which is already available. Also, one request, if we can have more icons in place or more variety, then it will be easier for us to use it in our posters.
I'm currently in talks with our graphic design team about how we can use icons and how we can use more icons. A lot of times, even the icons that we use in our templates fall under our intellectual property in a way that's not super easy for us to say, hey, let's go out and say that everybody can use them. So we're looking at strategy right now on how we can deliver that in a way that it's okay for all of our members to be able to use. It's not a great answer, I know, but
thank you, though it helps. Just one more request, Jessica. If possible, can you share that presentation to us? It will be helpful for our usage. We will distribute among the District 98 team.
Yeah, I can share it I can create a PDF version and send that to your team.
That will help. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I believe the questions have dried down now. Now I believe it's time to have a picture with all of us. Hope that works, and we can share it in a presentation in future.
Mayur, I think Akshay has a question also. He was raising his hand, I believe. Akshay.
I'll ask my question. Let's go ahead with the picture. Let me frame it. I'll again display it on my background and then I'll ask.
Great. Okay, so I would request to share an heart icon if possible. Vishal, you can do the needful.
Team, I will not be able to switch on my video.
Are we good, Vishal?
Yeah, we are good.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. It is wonderful to hear from you, and we learned a lot. There were a lot of ambiguity in the way we used to do. I will say I used to do from the peer perspective, and I got more clarity when I learned how to do it in a better way and follow all the trademark, all the guidelines which has been published by the Toastmaster International. We will definitely go back to our brand manual, go back to brand manual 101 and try to prepare and present better posters or better and try to be aligned with the guidelines which has been shared. Is Toastmaster Hardik there? If I would like to hand over to you for any closing remarks from your end.
Mayur, Hardik is not here. Meanwhile, I'll just ask my query.
Yes, please.
Yes. So, Jessica, you must be aware, like, right? In India, we have this festival, which is of kite flying. It usually comes around January. That time, a lot of posters, it coincides with the theme of kite flying. So in case if we use an image of a kite, I understand it is against the brand manual because it says that you cannot use images other than Toastmasters. But if I get inspired from the image of kite and use the second image, would that be all right? Or that is something which I can't do? Coming back to the shapes which Meghna had asked, right? So getting inspired from the kite, using the shapes, I have created the second figure. Is that something which I can go ahead and use, or that is not?
I love that idea as far as a way to get creative with it. So like I said, you can't create like full pictures out of different shapes, but the inspiration here where you're doing kind of an abstract, which is still like, it's really just a shape in the long run, but it does kind of mimic the shape of the kite. I think that's fantastic and a really good way to get creative.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Akshay. The last call for any questions. Okay. Thanks again, Jessica, for taking us throughout the session. We learned a lot and looking forward to meet you in person whenever you are back here in India.
I hope so. I hope someday that gets to happen. Thank you all
Definitely
for
it's gonna
inviting
happen.
me today. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me whenever you have questions. I love getting the chance to talk and interact with all of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you, Jessica. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you very much.